Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphan Last, aka Skylar Madison, and today I'm going to go ahead and continue with this Babylon 5 fan art piece. Now, where we left off last time, we were working on this jump gate, but I'm kind of unhappy with some of the decisions that I did. I erased too many of my reference lines, so I'm just going to kind of start over with it, which is a good thing because I'm not that far with it anyways. So let's go ahead and get that done. I didn't spend much time on it inside of the last video. I just mentioned that it was something that I was wanting to do. Okay, so we right now have this big box right here, which is from the blocking sketch. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to focus in on the frontal portion of the box. I'm also going to change up a few bits of the proportions of the blocking sketch as well. So now that I have this all drawn out in red, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making some measurements for the frontal section of this frontal section of the jump gate, which 9 times out of 10 involves finding center. Now that I've found center, I now know where the top and bottom little bits of the jump gate happen to start. And now I'm going to go ahead and split it in two once again, and that's going to help me find the sides, the machinery of the jump gate. Now that I have that, I'm going to go to my blue layer, and that's going to help me be able to line out exactly where all of this needs to be. And I'm going to use the teal colored layer, and I'm just going to draw a line that goes straight up and down in order to help me find out where the bottom jump gate machinery happens to start. Okay, now that I have that established, I need to somehow figure out how all of this is going to come together. Using the teal layer, I'm going to try an experiment where I draw this upwards out of the canvas, and about right here I feel like it'd start going down. Excellent. And so now that we got that, we now need to extend this towards the vanishing point here. I'm just going to draw a line straight from the vanishing point down to the blue line. I'm going to pull out the blue layer, and I'm just going to experiment a little bit with over here. You know, I'm just going to just forget all that work that I did with the green stuff. Just simply because it's just overcomplicating the situation. And it's this intersection right here where I just need to go towards my blue vanishing point. Excellent. Okay, so now that I have that, I now know where my 3 spokes or my 3 jump gate machinery pieces need to go. That said, I'm going to pull out my teal layer. I'm just going to erase what I've done with the teal layer because hardly any of that I actually used. So this is the center of one of these pieces of machinery. And so what I need to do is I need to find a way to have it equal on both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw out a square on an area that's fairly close to us. And this square is using the red and blue lines in order to construct it. Okay, so now that I have this square right here, I need to find out where this side of it ends. So I'm going to find center and make an extension like that. Maybe that's not long enough. Let me take a few steps back. Okay, so we now have our square. Let's go ahead and create an extension. Boom, right there. And you know what? That seems like it's gonna serve us well right there, like that. I'm now just going to just follow the blue vanishing point lines all the way to the back. Excellent. Okay, so this is the bottom face of the box that I'm trying to create. So it's like the equivalent of me drawing out a face like this, and then I need to create the other faces to the box. Okay, that's what I did right here. I started out with the bottom face. Now that I have that, I need to create the back spine of this. So if I follow this straight up, this center line right here, if I follow it up like that, I have the back spine of one of these pieces of jump gate technology, I guess. I'm just going to follow that all the way back. Awesome. Okay, so now that I have that, I want to actually make a few measurements. And for that, I'm actually going to create a new layer, and I'm going to create a purple color. Nice and obnoxious. I'm just going to go ahead and draw out a few boxes. So we already know where center is and where it intersects with my purple line right there. So all I need to do is draw out a line that intersects where the center hits the edge of my box. There we go. And let's do that again, and again, and again, and again, again. And it's starting to kind of make less and less sense. So I'm just going to eyeball the rest and just make them really close to one another. Okay, now this is important because eventually what I'm going to do with each one of these segmented bits, here, 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 and so on and so forth. Each one of these little segmented bits, I'm going to treat them like a square here, and I'm just going to wind up splitting them into fourths. And where each one of those 1/4 marks are, you can see that this spine of the jump gate goes like that, and there's these little wings that come out like that. Each one of these little wings that comes out of the spine is basically going to be on the 1/4 mark, and that's going to help me out immensely in the process. And I'll be able to just draw lines that go straight up and down, at least for right now, down to here in order to find out where these marks are, to try to make it feel kind of universal between the two of them. The spine on the top and the spine on the bottom, okay? Okay, so this is starting to get pretty complicated, but we'll be able to work it through. So I want to make sure that this is about the same width. Let's work with the teal color for now. And I'm just drawing a line that goes straight down. And same thing over here. Let's see if that works out somehow. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so I drew the other one out in blue, so I'm going to work with blue for right now. So if we treat this here and this here as if it's two distances away from each other, and I go ahead and treat it as if it's say a square just lingering in space, and I find center inside of it, and I go ahead and draw a line going straight down from the center, I should find right here, like this little region right here, right where bottom spine of the jump gate meets up with this face. So now that I have that, I'm just going to erase this here. This is going to be the top face of this spine. I'm having a little bit of difficulty drawing out this line here as it extends to the vanishing point. I want to get it right because otherwise it could look like it's really short and squat. This distance that I just drew right there looks like much shorter distance than if I draw it like that, okay? So I'm trying to get it to look right as if it's going towards this vanishing point. In fact, let me just go ahead and, just for precision's sake, draw a line straight from the vanishing point to where I need it. So that looks good to me. So I'm going to erase that line that I drew all the way out there. Awesome. So now I'm just going to extend this line out towards the back and then do the same thing on the other side. Fortunately, it lines up perfectly with one of my already established blue lines, so all I need to do is just follow it out. Awesome. Okay, so that is the top face. So now I just need to draw how tall it is. And I don't know, I'm not going to try to measure this out all the way down, like the height of it all the way down, in order to find out how tall this is. I'm just going to go ahead and eyeball it. I'm going to say that is about as tall. Yeah, that's about as tall right there. And draw out my perspective line towards the red vanishing point. And that should be what I need for that. And this will be the internal corner. So now I just need to follow this edge back. Let me go ahead and make this line just a little bit thicker, a little bit darker, because it kind of needs to be. Awesome. Okay, so now this line needs to go all the way back. Okay, and it went all the way back, so that's cool. Good news there. So now I'm going to pull out my purple layer. I'm just going to draw a line that goes straight up and down right there, and that should be right where the actual spine of this jump gate should be, and it actually lines up perfectly with the edge, which is kind of frustrating. I hate it when it aligns up with an edge, because it just kind of complicates situations just a little bit. So that's the bottom face. Let me plot the blue layer again, and I need to follow this all the way back, and it actually lines up perfectly with one of my blue lines as well. I'm okay with it lining up with one of my blue lines, but once it lines up with an edge to my cube or something like that, that's when I get frustrated. Now I know this doesn't look like a gigantic box or anything like that, but it is. It is a box. Now if I erased some of the lines, then yeah, it would look more like a box. Let me erase the line of center that I drew out initially, because I don't need that anymore. It'll start looking more like a box after I get rid of that center line. Fortunately, whoa, what is going on? Okay, so that's the spine right there. Now that's the corner, and this is the edge, the internal edge of the box. So I'm drawing it all out as if it's transparent way back here to try to add clarity. Let me go up here. This bottom spine, I don't need that, at least not right now. And I kind of doubt that I ever will. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Booyah. Okay, now that I got that done, I'm going to zoom out. I'm just going to use the teal layer. Dang it. Let me redraw this spine in teal, because there's too many problems with having it as purple. I have very specific measurements assigned to purple. So, okay, so purple, let me erase the purple here on the spine here. Awesome. Okay, so I have that. Go back to teal and make sure that I flesh out this line throughout here, because it's just, it is important that I know where the bottom spine, the bottom center is. The bottom faces center. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? So now, I guess the teal isn't going to work. The blue won't work. And the red won't work. So I'm going to have to create another layer, and I'm going to have to pick out a different color. I'm thinking about a brown. And with that, I'm just going to draw a line straight down, and where it hits this edge, that is where my first split is, right here. So I'm going to go back to my brown layer, draw another line that goes straight down. Boom. Okay, right there, right where it hit that corner. I'm going to use purple, and I'm just going to draw that out. Go back to brown, do the exact same thing, just draw a line that goes straight down until it hits that corner, and I believe it just did. And at this point, I'm kind of doing a lot of stuff out of futility, so I'm going to grab this brown color, this brown layer, and just deactivate it for now. And with the purple layer, I'm going to just draw out well, I already have this center here, so I'm going to draw an extension, and this will just make life easier, so I don't have to draw out a brown line every time that I want to draw one of these. Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to draw these out as squares. Okay, cool. Now, for the newbie artists that are watching this video, you may say that what I'm drawing here looks nothing like this jump gate. Yes, of course, it doesn't look anything like that jump gate right now. When you're drawing in perspective, you have to have math working with you. You have to actually think in terms of geometry in order to get this thing to work and look right. Like, this isn't a Bob Ross tutorial where I'm trying to teach you guys how to draw the randomness of nature, like a landscape or something. These are man-made constructed things. There are no happy little trees inside of man-made structures. So Bob Ross's philosophy of
there is no such thing as mistakes,
that doesn't work with perspective. You never saw Bob Ross draw in perspective, and he very rarely introduced a building into any of his paintings, and when he did, it was just a solitary building. There was no perspective at all used. No point of reference in order for you to see whether or not that perspective was correct or incorrect. The spacing in between each one of these little wings going off into the distance and stuff, that spacing needs to make sense throughout the entire thing. So let's go ahead and start working on this other one. Let's say this one right here. Okay, let me go back to the blue layer, And gonna say that looks about long enough. And fortunately, this goes straight to the vanishing point. So I'm just gonna go ahead and follow my lines off towards the vanishing point. I'm going to draw a box right here. I'm going to draw an X, draw a line going up, and draw out an extension. And where that extension collides into like this line, the edge of that box that I just drew, that is pretty key. And it looks like there's a little bit of overlap, and I'm okay with that. Overlap is good in perspective drawings, just not when you're treating your objects like transparent objects. You don't want corners intersecting with one another. It just makes the math a little bit more difficult. Okay, so now I'm just going to erase this right here. Awesome. Okay, so now that I have that, I don't really want, like, this box, when I had the center, I created this bottom face down here by going away from the center here, away from this here, which is the edge of what will become an ellipse right here. All right, so with that in mind, here I also did the same thing. I went out, away from the center, away from this edge right here, because that's going to be the basis for an ellipse. So as a result, I need to draw out this as a box like that and have it go towards that vanishing point. Okay, so the stuff that this overlaps with, I can start erasing. I'm going to go back to my purple layer as well and erase the purple that resides in the overlap. And then go back to my blue layer, pull out my brush, just clean things up a little bit. Now this may not seem like a box because it goes straight to the vanishing point. If you had a box that was like this and it goes all the way to the vanishing point, it doesn't look like a box anymore. It looks more like, kind of like a pyramid. That's what it winds up looking like. But I'm okay with it looking like a pyramid because in the end, I'm going to be having these things coming out here, these little wings to the thingamajig. So the thing is the center of it is right here, the center of the spine, and then it would wind up going something like that. Okay, that's the center, that's the spine of the jump gate. I'm just going to erase. Oh shoot, let me backtrack a little bit. Let me go to the purple layer and just redraw that real. Okay, so now we can go ahead. No, I need to backtrack and redraw that again in teal, okay? Or at least in green, since the colors changed since I first made the document. But I'm calling it the teal layer. Okay, so that's the center. We carry it on to the vanishing point. There we go. There we go. That looks good. Can you erase the center on the overlap? All right, now I can go to purple, okay? And I suppose maybe, I don't know, let's try this out. If I were to draw this as it lingers up above here, no, that's not going to work. Let's see. If I were to draw this until, I don't know, yeah, I can't seem to figure it out. So I'm going to have to figure out some new measurement system. This is really foreshortened. So I'm going to actually go back to my blue layer and erase this initial center because it's throwing me off from being able to visualize this as a box. Looks so different from a box, with it kind of being the shape of or looking like it's the shape of a pyramid, that it totally throws me off. I have no idea what I'm looking at. So this thing really gets complicated after a short period of time. So I'm just going to draw my first one right here. If I could just pull out the purple color, that'd be great. I'm going to have the first one be right there, and I'm going to have to find my center as it goes off towards the distance here, because otherwise I'm just going to be, well, you know what? How about I use my magical brown color? All right, yeah. My brown color, it's my go-to for right now for temporary measurements. Okay, so now that I have my center here, I can go ahead and extend it out towards the vanishing point and just, you know, make an extension. Boom. Go back to purple, draw a purple line that goes right where that meets up with the blue line there. Go back to brown, make an extension. Boom. Go back to purple, go ahead and make a line. Go back to brown, boom. And you just basically repeat the same process over and over again until it just becomes a series of pixels and you're not able to really make any sense of what's going on. That's basically what you need to do. Now, you might be asking the question, how is anyone supposed to know that you're supposed to do this in order to draw this? Ultimately, it's up to you. You are the artist, and if you're making an observation about your reference or about your drawing, you need to be able to work out the math, at least to some extent. Alright, now that we have that established, we have this one. Now this one's going to get covered up a lot by the ellipse, so let's get started with the ellipse. So let me go back to my measurement layer, which is my red. Red's the default measuring color for me. And so the most important lines that I draw are usually drawn out in red. But a lot of times there's exceptions to that, because sometimes just to make heads or tails, I'll still draw important lines without red. Because I just need to make heads or tails of what I'm drawing. So I go back to my sketch layer, pull out the color black, and I'm just going to eyeball an ellipse based off of this this pyramid shape that I drew out here. Okay? So there are more official ways of drawing out an ellipse, but this is a really in-depth picture, and if I can find a shortcut, I'm going to use a shortcut, that sort of thing. I don't care if the math is 100% accurate, just as long as the picture looks good. If the picture looks good, it's good enough. If I'm happy and I think that the picture can sell, then there's nothing to really complain about. Okay, so I got an ellipse there, and wow. So let me use the brown layer once again, and I'm just going to draw a line. I kind of did the same thing with the top and bottom spines, okay? Let's go ahead and follow this all the way across. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, cool. So let me go back to my blue layer, and if I draw a line that goes up and down until it intersects with both of those browns, honestly, I actually think this one would curve a lot more. So I'm just going to guess that it's going to be only that tall, and I'm just going to draw a line that follows the blue vanishing points, going like that. Okay, so there's a vanishing point here and a blue vanishing point right there. I'm going to get that to follow that a little bit. So it's primarily horizontal around this region. It's getting straighter and straighter and straighter, and then it starts to curve more and more until you get a dramatic curve like that. Okay? Now that we got that established, I think that some magic can start happening here. Except I still need to... I'm going to use my brown color once again. I'm going to zoom out a bit, use the lasso tool, select all the brown on the canvas, and delete it. And I'm going to go to this back face here using the brown, and I'm just going to... Okay, so this back face really wouldn't make any adjustment. I'm going to draw out the center of this back face, okay? Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there exists a big square. Let me use an obnoxious color just to illustrate. There exists
a big box.
Okay, a
big freaking box
on my box layer, okay, my blocking layer, and it is shaped like this. Okay, that's the shape of this big box for my big jump gate. Using the brown layer, I'm just going to go ahead and find center, and now that I have that, I'm just going to split it down the middle vertically, split it down the middle horizontally using the red vanishing points. Boom. Now that I have that, I'm going to just split one of these in the middle, and the one on the opposite side, I'm going to split it down the middle as well, or find the centers here and here. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to just split up the entire thing into fourths. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I split this up into a bunch of different squares, 4 by 4, so 16. Okay, 16 total squares. But ultimately the ones that I'm interested in are within this region. Okay, and so I'm just going to go ahead and draw out a diamond shape right here, and I'm going to go ahead and go to my sketch layer, and I'm just going to draw out a smaller ellipse, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to erase what I don't need. And I figure that I can just kind of do something like that and erase the rest of the ellipse right there inside. And that's what I need there. Alright, excellent. So now that I have that all accomplished, I'm going to go back to my measurement layer, and which is my red layer. And I'm going to plot the lasso, select everything, delete it. Okay, I don't need any of that red. And I'm going to go back to my brown layer as well. Select everything, delete it. Alright, so now things are a lot more simplistic. This was a struggle for me to keep my attention on it well enough to know what it was that I was looking at as I was drawing it. But this is a good foundation. This is the construction to a jump gate, or at least the construction of a jump gate that I'm going to be working with throughout the course of this video. So, cool beans. So, anyways, guys, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you guys would like to support my channel, there's an end screen card at the upper right corner of the screen right now. If you'd like to get more notifications from me, feel free to click on the bell or go ahead and follow me on Twitter. There's a link in the video description below. And if you'd like to see more of my content, feel free to click on anything else appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.